Hi there, welcome to a short reflection for Saturday, the 19th of November. I wonder how you are today. We're reading through Proverbs, Wisdom for Life, and today we're in chapter 19. This morning in the district, the Lancashire Methodist district, we had a property forum. We invited those from across Lancashire who were involved in looking after our properties, our church buildings, our manses, and the like to come together to share good practice, to encourage them. We made bacon butties and sausage sandwiches to thank them for all their work, particularly over the last couple of years, navigating COVID restrictions and all the care for our property. So a big thank you to everybody who is engaged in property management and looking after all that we've been given. I used the opportunity this morning to talk about Proverbs 19 and about three verses in particular that stood out to me, especially when I was thinking about property buildings. Verse 14 says, "Houses and wealth are inherited from parents." And it's true to say, isn't it, that much of what we have in our lives is handed down from previous generations. Much of who we are today is as a result of those who've nurtured us and invested in us from our young age. Houses and wealth, property inherited. And we inherit our church buildings, our churches, our manses. We inherit them from the former generations, those who had the vision to build in a particular way, to reach out to people, to call people together in God's love for worship and to do mission from these centres. So we inherit things. Sometimes what we've inherited is no longer fit for purpose. There were folks this morning who'd inherited in the role of property steward, perhaps a flooded cellar or all sorts of issues that can come upon us. And sometimes what we inherit is a blessing and sometimes it doesn't feel so. But we're recognising that what we have has been entrusted to us, and it's for us to seek the wisdom of God for the way we use the resources God has given us. The second thing I noted, there's quite a lot in this chapter about poverty. Better the poor whose walk is blameless. Wealth attracts friends. Even the closest friend of the poor deserts them. The poor are shunned by their relatives and friends. So there's quite a lot in this chapter about the plight of the poor and the needs of the poor. And then you get to verse 17, which is probably my favourite verse in this particular chapter. "Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord, and he will reward them for what they have done." So that wonderful notion that when we lean towards and are kind and generous to the neediest, whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord. Lending because it returns to us in some form, the reward, the favour of God. That's not why we do it. We do it because we care and we feel God's compassion in us. But this verse is rather like when Jesus says in one of his parables, "I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was naked and you clothed me. When you did these things for the least of these people, you were doing it for me." Whoever is kind to the poor lends to the Lord. And there is woven through Proverbs this care for the poor, care for the needy, God's bias for the poor, his leaning towards the poor. And we were encouraged this morning with the property people from around the district to celebrate the fact that many of our churches across Lancashire are opening in a special way throughout this autumn and winter, warm spaces, warm hubs, places of welcome. Whoever is kind to the needy lends to the Lord, and he will reward them for what they have done. How can we be kind to the poor in our daily living? Well, finally, the last two or three verses, perhaps the best known verse from this chapter is verse 21. "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails." It's good for us to plan. It's good for us to work out what we're going to do. It's good to be organised. We can say that to our property people. We need to be organised. We need to have strategic plans for our property, for our mission, for our buildings. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. In another part of the Bible it says, unless the Lord builds the house, the labourers work in vain. So we need to be sure, don't we, with wise living, that everything that we do is part of God's plan and purpose, and that's what will prevail. A person desires more than anything unfailing love, says verse 22, and the fear of the Lord leads to life. Then one rests content, untouched by trouble. It's a beautiful end to this chapter that's taken us through various twists and turns. All that we've inherited, all that's been entrusted to us for wisdom and for guidance, tending to the poor is lending to the Lord. Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. What a great chapter. That's chapter 19. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom and truth in it. Tomorrow is the final liturgical Sunday of the year, Christ the King Sunday, the Sunday before Advent. Do join me at some point tomorrow for a short reflection on Proverbs chapter 20. And then if you're free tomorrow night, Sunday the 20th of November, 7 p.m, we have for the first of a new series of district Zoom services, 30 to 40 minutes of worship on a Sunday evening. Tomorrow, Christ the King Sunday. If you want the Zoom details, send me a message and we'll get them to you. Come and join us with others tomorrow night for worship. But have a great day, have a great evening, and thank you for journeying through Proverbs with me. Wisdom for life. God bless you.